Welcome to another episode of the LongBox Paradox. I'm Dan, and this week didn't really get into a whole bunch of my books because I fell a little bit behind, but I wanted to talk about a few that made it to the top of my stack. One will be no surprise. It is Die number 5 by Image Comics, continuing the fantastic run by Kieran Gillen and Stephanie Hans. This book I thought was particularly a standout, probably my favorite since issue 2. This issue, we start out, our Paragons are in Glasstown. As we saw in the last issue, Ash had devised a plan to bring Sol out of hiding and bring him to them by taking down Glasstown. So in this issue, the plan starts to unfold. Ash has subtly used his powers to take control of what I'd call kind of the governor of the town, and from there has the other members of the team start setting up things to take down the impenetrable dome around it. So Ash is talking to the constable and getting everything in gear. While that's happening, Angela has gone to talk to the toy soldiers of Eastern Prussia and push them to start invading, which they have the mechanical dragons that start to attack. Ash starts to take down the dome around it and brings the Grief Knight with him, uses his power to push the Grief Knight into becoming more powerful, that he can destroy the guardians of what powers the dome. We also, I don't know if it had been shown before, that the Grief Knight's sword talks. It is sentient and will say shitty things. We also, Ash makes a mention that he's never unarmed, which you don't really know what he's talking about, but it is kind of interesting. So they bring down the dome, and the toy soldiers start attacking, and there Isabel's part of the plan comes into effect, where she makes a deal with one of the gods called the Sky, I can't remember, it's the Sky Guardian or something like that, to save all the people of the town, because Glasstown's being just decimated. So with that happening, finally, Sol comes out, and they have their plan of how to disrupt him enough to take him down. Ash uses the power. We find out that when he said he's never unarmed, she has a death touch. And we also are revealed that there were plenty of people from Earth that had been in that dimension before, because the zombie-like creatures there called the Fallen, they are actually people that died in the world that come back as like restless souls. So that also makes the world a bit more interesting, because for the longest time I think they thought they were the first, and they weren't. And things happen, and they try to go home, only to find out that it's not unanimous. They don't all want to go home. Chuck really likes being there. He figures in the real world there'll be this urban myth of him disappearing, and his books will sell even better. And Isabel is completely just a little bit, I'd say, horrified that they just destroyed a city. They committed an unspeakable act for selfish reasons. And so their, I guess we'll call a fellowship, falls apart, and the three left start to figure out what they're going to do. This actually added more character development, because I believe characters like Chuck, they never really spend enough time with him, and even Ash, like, we start to unfurl a bit more about why he's like he is, or she is, and they're constantly revealing these powers that they didn't know they had. Well, at least we didn't know they had, but they knew. Stephanie Hahn's art, like normal, is great, carries the story well. Kieran Gillen is able to reveal a bit, not too much, and leave you wanting more of this onion to be peeled open. This book ended volume 1, so we'll have the trade, and I figure once the trade comes out, the book is going to hit that second phase of new fans coming on, which then probably will make the early issues become even more chased down. Almost every issue of the earlier issues, number 1s to a 5th print, 4th print on issue 2. I think issue 3 has a 4th print coming. Issue 4 might have a 2nd print now at this point. Great book, great read, great art. Get up on it if you can. If you've been holding out, get the trade. If it holds true to how the normal Image books go, it'll be a $9.99 trade. Definitely a book that is worth picking up, even if you're not going to collect the issues. Buy the trades. It's lovely. I don't have any DC books to talk about this week because part of it is I didn't get to any of them yet. Life has kind of gotten a little bit busy, and 2, there weren't any books that I felt I needed to push up on my read list this week. Young Justice might have been one of the few, and I just didn't get to it. What I do have are 2 Marvel books this week, which I guess I've said before, I've been neglectful and not too totally into what's been out yet from them or lately. War of the Realms came out this week, and it's one of those massive events that I'm just burned out on. So I kind of just dropped that to the bottom, and I'll get to it when I get to it. What I did push to the top, because as I say before, I'm a Gail Simone fan, was Hotshots, Domino Hotshots number 2. This character completely picks up right where the last one left off, where we have Inez, she has been infected a little bit from her interaction with the guy who was turning into part celestial, and it's affecting her vision, and she's having visions of the Celestials. We get a little bit more into the group dynamics. Oh, and you just throw Deadpool in there doing his Daffy Duck type stuff. Get a little bit more Domino's thinking on what Deadpool is like. And Tony Stark hired him to get this artifact. There's a little bit of the team dynamic issues going on between Black Widow and Domino, because Black Widow starts issuing orders and Domino kind of has to reel her back in. The witty dialogue was great. I mean, it's typical Gail Simone book. The art works for what it is. I'm always happy to see Diamond back in a book. I've been a fan of Miss Rachel Layton since she was appearing with the Serpent Society back in the day and her love affair with Captain America. So I was going to be down for this book either way. There are parts of it where the dialogue is a little too heavy to the actual action in it, but it works for what it is. Baldion, or I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name, another great Kirby Celestials homage in a page. It's a fun book. The collectability, if you're trying to spec it, I don't think it's there. It's just a fun team book, kind of like how Birds of Prey was. Still, there's team dynamic stuff that needs to be ironed out. Some characters I feel get a little left behind because it feels like some characters are being favored over others, probably because Gail hadn't had a chance to write them much. But it's enjoyable. Hopefully more about those characters will be fleshed out. Really enjoying the book so far. It's a read pile buy, not a buy for your collection. Again, this might be a book that does better on the trade market, but I thoroughly enjoy it. And then the book that my morbid curiosity caused me to push it to the top, we have Major X, which the title alone kind of, it's iffy, real iffy. I just don't dig that title. It is written and penciled by Mr. Rob Liefeld. And I will start out saying that it's a very self-aggrandizing issue, because Major X and this future version of Beast, alternate reality Beast, show up, and it's basically taking place in New Mutants 98, which it's like the circle completing itself, and Major X and Beast are attacking Cable. The dialogue is just very 90s. The whole book is very 90s, which, I mean, it's Liefeld. He's trying to bring back this grandiose, bombastic book that were popular in the 90s. For me, my palate has changed since those days. I am not a high school kid, and while I appreciate the sentiment, and I'm sure it's going to do well, it's got a lot of Deadpool, and it's got two freaking versions of Deadpool. It has current Deadpool, Daffy Duck version, and the one that was originally introduced. On the art side, the distracting thing for me was the Beast. I did not like the way he was penciled. It looked off. I can't explain why it looked off, but something was just not jiving with me. And then there is quite a few panels, and I feel like if you follow Rob on Twitter, you will know his love of Tom Cruise is off the charts, and he basically put a Tom Cruise Mission Impossible montage in there of Major X riding his motorcycle through this futuristic desert mountain area, and 3 pages, I think, several panels of just riding a motorcycle. I'm not gonna say it's filler, but it kind of comes off as that. I almost feels more like just a homage to a actor and type of movie he likes. The whole book plays right through New Mutants 98. We also, at the end, Major X is revealed, and big surprise, it's another Summers. I'm not going to say what Summers, because I don't believe it is one that's been introduced before. I could be wrong. I am honestly not sure if I care enough to go down the rabbit hole and actually investigate. So, if you're a Liefeld fan, you'll probably love this book. If you are still stuck in the 90s of wanting the bombast, this book is for you. If you are looking for a deep read and just something that's going to make you think, this is not the book for you. And I'm going to recommend this slightly. It is a C book for me. You could buy it if it's your thing. You could easily pass on it. I weirdly think, on one hand, spec-wise, this could be a sleeper book. It could also be just dreck and nothing. But if you have the extra money to spend just to possibly tuck it away, go ahead and do so. I don't know how much of a player in the Marvel Universe this is going to be, if at all. I don't know. The X-Men books have been really rough for me lately. It's just too all over the place. And I mean, honestly, when I say it's Liefeld doing a book, you know what you're getting. Him writing it is the unknown quantity, and I will say I wasn't bowled over by the writing, but you at least got to kind of keep it in the back of your head. I know what this is. I also know possibly this book could blow up because, say what you want about Rob, he has a proven track record with being able to get new characters and somehow make them bigger than they maybe should be. Because if you think about it, Deadpool, when he was introduced, cool look, not a lot of substance, but every time he popped up because of that look, people bought it. And also, you have to also think Deadpool, until he became Daffy Duck, basically, was an okay character. It had a following, but nowhere near what it is now. So, yeah, C-Book, it's kind of a reader beware, but by knowing that there's growth potential to the book, possibly, it all depends how the fans come out for it. And that is actually the biggest difference with it, is if the fans come out for it. So with that, I'm going to get on to a book I didn't get to read. I'm looking forward to it, but the cover alone, to me, was worth picking up. And that was Immortal Hulk 16, which has this great picture drawn by Alex Ross. And it's nighttime, the moon is up, and Rick Jones is playing the harmonica against the Jeep. And if you remember, or if you read Old Hulks or know, that was a big thing when the bomb went off. Rick Jones was out, playing his harmonica. I love the cover. There's something about it that, it just catches your eye. With that being said, I'm going to end this. Thank you for joining me. I look forward to hopefully getting on to a lot more books next week. I'm way behind my read pile, and I have to start prioritizing next week's pile of what are going to be my top books I need to get to first. Comment, like, subscribe, share. Again, let me, if there's something you think I should be reading or I'm just criminally passing over, let me know. I'd love to hear. So with that, thank you, good night, farewell, happy hunting.